Hey folks, and welcome to 40K by Night. My name's Steve Joel, one of your hosts for the show today. I'm excited about this because I've got a tournament coming up as of tomorrow, my time. So this is going to be extremely helpful as we go into tournament time, hopefully for you as well over the next couple of weeks if you've got events coming up. One of the big things Knights players are asking at the moment is, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with that? There are some armies that are just really strong. If you've seen any of the tier list videos, I really recommend Art of War Down Under, and I'll link that in the show notes to this episode. Adam Camilleri did a great tier list a few weeks ago. We don't do well, Imperial Knights, in the tier lists at the moment. So that's what we want to deal with in this episode, and we're going to get to a lot of that in a second. First, let me do a couple of shout-outs, and then I've got an announcement to make when we introduce the co-host for this show. Wanted to say hi to everybody who's a Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot. Anthony and Nicholas, Miguel, Daniel, Russ, Corey, Jake, Thundersnake, someone called the other mailman, Michael, Nick, Turner, Eric, Eugene, Jeff, Paul. These are all people that have joined since we last said hello to our new Patreons. Caprat, Oni Bob, Troy and Philip and Eggroll and Wayne are all there as members, and we thank you so much. Also wanted to say hi to everyone on the Discord. So the Discord is free. I'll link that in the show notes to the episode. You can see on YouTube or on the Spotify or Apple podcasts, wherever you're listening, that you'll be able to just jump straight into the Discord. It's free, and all of the experts that we have on as guests, I'm emphasizing that word for a reason right now, are available in the Discord. People like Adam and Brian Jones, they're available in this Discord. Dustin Hammond, who we had on recently, is in the Discord. So if you want to pick people's brains, that's a great place to go. Let me bring in the co-host of the show, last year's #1 Imperial Knights player in the world in the ITC, Rees Darville. Hey man, how are you?
I'm doing good, Stephen. Good. It is an absolute pleasure to be here as always.
Well, let me let people know what's going on. Stig and I got this whole thing started, and one of the very first people to join as an expert, as a person who was keen to be involved, was Rees. And Rees and Brian Jones and a few others, Dustin and Adam Camilleri, have been what we refer to as expert guests, you know, people that get invited on when it's appropriate, get to come in and be part of the show. But Stig and I were talking about this, and we've approached Rees with this idea. We wanted to ask Rees if he would be a co-host on the show. That is, be one of the owners of the show. You know, be part of the lineup that gets to decide content and T-shirt designs and all of the stuff that goes on in the background. Because, Rees, you've been such a big part of this. You're so active in the Discord. You're always available. You've been such a great resource for us. I don't know if this is an honor or if it's just a thing, whatever it is. But you said yes. So can I announce to people right now that as of this episode and ongoing, Rees is here as a co-host. So we are co-hosting the show. Thanks for saying yes to this, mate. I really appreciate all that you've done for us, and I'm looking forward to all that we're going to do together moving forward.
It's 100% an honor. Thank you, Steve.
I also wanted to let you know, because we're going into this is an episode where I'm going to pick Rees's brains about the big bads, the most popular things. And you know the way it works: when an army gets really strong, suddenly people migrate to that army, and then you're going to face more of them. To give you an idea, there's an event this weekend, which I've already mentioned, 24 players. Out of those 24, 3 are bringing all Catan Necrons, 3 are bringing grizzled veterans in the Astra Militarum, and 3 more are bringing the Chaos Demons. So those 3 are really strong in the meta right now. We've also got an AdMech list, which we haven't seen anywhere for like 100 years. And then now we've got an AdMech list there. So we wanted to ask Rees about the big bads. We're going to get to your Patreon questions guaranteed, and as many of the Discord questions as we can. That'll depend a little bit on time. But Rees, I wanted to run something past you first from a game yesterday against Chaos Demons. So I was playing like the Monster Mash. It had the big chicken in there. I can't remember what that's called. Not Kairos, but just the standard chicken with the 3 damage gun. Lord of Change. Had Be'lakor. It had the other big red dude, and the fat boy with the 5-up invol and the 4-up invol, 5-up feel no pain, and then a bunch of little now it was a great game. I played 5 bigs, which I'm taking to the event, which in New Zealand starts tomorrow. So Canis Rex, 2 Lancers, one of them with the pennant, a Gallant, and an Atropos with the Worm Slayer to, so it's better against flying things. And it was a really fun, brutal, like brawl in the middle. He touches me and kills me. I touch him and kill him, and just not much left at the end. And in the end, Rees, it came down to this. He drew cards, which meant he had to charge my Lancer. He could move his fat boy close enough. He got the Lancer down to 9 wounds. And then he wasn't confident that his fat boy could take 9 wounds off the Lancer. So he decided to shoot it with the surviving Lord of Change. It was just those 2 left on his side and just my Lancer and my Gallant for me. My Lancer standing on the middle objective, right? So he's got the fat boy within charge range. And he knows he's got to charge onto the objective to win the game. So he shoots, hoping he's not going to shoot too well and kill my guy on 9 wounds left, my Lancer. Do you know what? He takes exactly 9 wounds off with his 3 damage weapon. No, he doesn't. I'm sorry. He takes 6 wounds off. 6 wounds off. So I used my last CP and re-rolled one of my saves that I had made, hoping to fail it and kill the guy and stop the charge. And it worked. I rolled a 3. I died. My question is, which was a hilarious way to finish. And I said to him, I don't even know if you're allowed to re-roll because it's not a failed save. I've re-rolled one of the saves that I made. We didn't check the rules. We just thought it would be funny to do it. Can you do that?
You can. Great. It's just you can re-roll a dice roll. It doesn't have to be success. It's just re-roll a saving throw.
Isn't that hilarious, though, that I re-rolled a dice wanting to fail it so that my Lancer would just fall over and he would not be able to charge and take the middle objective. So that meant that I won the game by 3 points. Anyway, I just love that as this is such a great game. This is why I love 40K. You get these moments in a game where, win or lose, there are moments in a game that you'll remember. The time that 3 vehicles blew up because of, the chain of explosions, these sorts of things. So that's my story to start off with. Okay, let's get to the big stuff, which is the armies that are right near the top of the tier lists. We are, by the way, down the bottom, according to everybody. Can I ask you if you agree with that right off the bat? Are we in the bottom few armies in the game right now?
I think we are. I think it's a mix of the codex and the armies that we're facing, so like the meta. I think it's a rough time to play the robots, definitely.
Yeah. We were all excited about the codex when it came out and everything seemed to have a lot of play, but I do feel like the chip damage has got us. The combination of losing a pip of toughness on the chassis, losing the 6-up feel no pain, we all agree that had to go, but in conjunction with losing the toughness and, just a few other little changes, not having the ability to rotate, except for in one of the detachments. All of these things kind of have added up, along with buffs to other armies, that I think have just made it a little, it's like it's harder work right now. It's hard work to win these games. So against, which one do you want to go first? Which direction should we head in first?
Let's go Necrons first. It's the one people are scared of the most at the moment, and it's very deserved.
Yeah, and it's, I was listening to Art of War Down Under with our friend Adam Camilleri, and he was on with Nathaniel Henning from the Stats Check podcast, and they were saying, listen, Necrons are the one army that just they haven't had a bad day in this whole edition. They've been kind of like this, but it's always right near the top of the tier lists. They just seem to be getting all the toys. So right now, what makes them so good?
It's a mix of things. It's the Catans getting an insane glow up between the movement, the damage output, even just like they've had this bit where they've gone up in toughness, they've got movement, they've got more output. Yet the Deceiver is on a tiny little base, so he can be such a rapid ingress or heroic threat, and you always have to think about that. And then
got a 40 mil base. The other ones all have these huge bases. He's got a 40 mil base. So if you don't screen him out, like, and you can't, well, I can't with my 5 model. 40 mil, just drop into the corner and rapid ingress, and then comes in and obliterates a big knight, just like that.
Yep. And then you've also got like the new destroyer character, who again is an insane heroic threat because he has fights first, along with his other billion rules. And all of a sudden, you charging in, say, you know, a slightly chipped down or wounded knight. If they spike up that little bit, you're punished for that character being a little bit too close.
Yeah. So we know the Catan, and one of the things Necron players cried about was that the Catan lost its, halving damage, but the -1 damage is basically just as good against most weapons. This is why I still like bringing an errant to the party, although I haven't got it in my list this time, but I did think about it because it's still great against Catan. I mean, it was great before. It's still really good against Catan with the damage output. You can one-shot one of those suckers, which is what you need to do, right? Because they repair wounds as well. That's the other big thing. Don't they get like a bunch of wounds back if you don't just pop them?
Yeah, they just heal up. They get reanimation protocols, and most Necron players are running stuff like either Awakened Dynasty or they got reanimators, so they're just increasing the odds of regenerating wounds to a certain point.
Right. What's the one at the moment? Now it's just gone out of my head. The new Necron detachment, or the newer one that everybody seems to be rolling, that is doing very well. No.
Or Pantheon of Woes.
That's the sucker. Pantheon of Woe. That's the one I keep seeing everywhere. Anyway, so all right, we understand the Catan threat, and the double-edged sword for us is that if other armies are building to beat Catan, that also smashes us in the face. So this weekend, if I come up against Pantheon of Woe or whatever it might be, and it's got 3, there's one list that's bringing 4 Catan. What do we do? What do we do when we're up against Necrons?
I think for us specifically, when they've got up to 2 Catan, that's like danger zone. Because they're going to have 1 to 2 Catan, Silent King, either Wraiths, Warriors, or both, depending on how greedy the list is. Doomsday Arcs, and then like Flayed ones, you're scoring bits. That is the list I'm probably most scared of, either in Star Shatter or Awakened. Because our options there are, we put Knights out, right? That is 90% of the game plan as a Knights player. You put a Knight out, you bring out an answer, you then punch back. They just have such efficient answers and such OC control that it's really hard to engage on that game. You really have to commit hard to certain areas of the board and just hope it gets to a game of 4-ups, right? They're DDAs, they're Silent King, they're Catan. It's all 4-ups. If they don't spike and you get, enough through, you can play that game.
Yeah.
If they do spike and, you're still picking them up at a decent rate, it's then a game of, have I played the warrior game right? Have I killed enough warriors to mitigate what he can do, but not allow him to wrap around and tag all my units? It's a really tough game, and I think it's hard for us.
Well, this is as you say, that's the list. That's the scary list, because what do we have that can deal with a blob of 20 warriors? Nothing. Even our shootiest knight isn't going to kill 20 warriors, and then they bring some back. So then you've got to commit multiple knights in multiple activations just to kill that blob. And you've got to get through that blob to get to anything else, or to stop them scoring points across a couple of objectives. So, so you're saying the answer is to just focus on an area of the board and hope that they fail saves.
The biggest play we have into the warrior blob is our base size. The objective's only a certain size, right? Either 1 big knight or 2 big knights, or say 1 big knight and 2 armigers, or 2 big knights on an objective, really limits how many warriors can actually be placed on that objective. And even if they're, say, OC 2, 3 apiece, if they can't place enough on and you don't give them the space, that's a huge part. So rather than going for like that sort of turn 1 or 2 charge into the warrior blob and giving them room to then reanimate past you onto that objective, probably worth rolling that advance, slamming your butt down on the middle of that objective, blocking any room for him to get on there, and then you're just holding them at bay.
Yeah. Is there any play in trying to spread them out. I mean, I guess they've got a lot of units, so it's hard to do that. But if you put a couple of bigs on your natural expansion, that kind of stops them taking that off you. If you then kind of spread out the other way and force them to go in both directions to deal with your knights, big or small, is that maybe a way of doing it as well? So they can hold the middle with their 20 warrior blob. Who cares?
Yeah.
But then you're kind of forcing the Catans to either both go in one direction or spread and go in a couple of different directions. I'm not so worried about the other little units. Maybe that's another way to play it as well. Pick up the little units that are going to be scoring their points. Worry about the warrior blob later. I'm just throwing stuff out here because I'm not very good. Do you think these are ways to maybe attack it?
100%. If you get given the option to pick up a flayed one unit, right, or whatever, say they bought, some people just bring a reanimator just for the sake of it's a cheap scoring unit. If you get the option to pick those up, always do. Because the new Necron lists are so greedy in the units they're bringing, they do lack scoring. And having to do like sabotage or a Catan, right? No one wants that. So if you're forcing their hand to do that to score points, that's huge.
Yeah, that's a great shout. So pick up the units that are just going to be the little runaround scoring units. Pick up the units that can hurt you from range, maybe. If you've got the ability to do that from range, you probably can't. I don't know if you can, with a 24-inch range on an Atropos or Canis Rex. Outside of a Castellan, it's going to be hard to pick up a Doomsday Arc from across the board. So, yeah, you're probably not playing the long range. Mind you, they're mostly mid-range aim army as well, or not?
Yeah, it's just the Doomsday Arcs, which have been a thing since the bloody dawn of time. Those things are... I hate Doomsday Arcs with a passion.
Right. Although they're really swingy. I mean, they can do nothing into you, or they can do a lot of damage. So, yeah. So I guess no matter what detachment we're playing, the answer is force them into a position where they can't get everything on and take your objective off you on one objective. Spread out the other way and try and pick up their scoring units so that if they've got a 20-man warrior blob stretching across two objectives, then they're not holding it with that many OC on each one. The Catan then have to decide whether they're all going into the two big knights standing on your natural expansion or the other way, or splitting, which is probably the best case scenario for us. And then, you're hopefully just chewing through it at some slow pace. It's just so hard, man. They've got that's the problem with an army like this, and I find even against Chaos Space Marines or armies like that, you kill a few units in a turn, and then you turn around and it's like, you still got so much stuff. Get through the rest of this now,
Yeah. I do think that Catan is something we can answer better than some armies, though. The more Catan an armies, like a Necron armies, bring in, say they've got 3 or 4, I actually feel better the more Catan they bring. 1 to 2 is that sweet spot into us, and in general in the meta, sadly.
Yeah. So this is, interestingly, in the last tournament I was in, I played a guy who brought like 5 Catan. There were three of the ones that come out of the big machine, with all the sparky, glowy. That's the one. Let me explain to our listeners who think I'm an idiot and can't remember anything. So when we record this, I get up at 4 a.m. and come in and do a whole radio show and then record ads and la la la. So when the time we're recording this is at the end of my working day and my brain is fried. And so I just get to these podcasts usually and I'm like, the one with the glowy bits. You know what I'm talking about. I can't remember names. So I can barely remember my name. So anyway, the Transcendent and the old Nightbringer and the Void Dragon is what he had. 3 of the Transcendents. But interestingly, failed one charge with the Nightbringer, and that was game. That meant that then the Lancer and the Atropos and everything, I'm charging forward with my big knights, and I had an errant in that game. But it is one of those, as you say, like he can wipe out a knight if you put one forward. But equally, we have the ability to smash them. The frustrating thing is that their Katana are 100 points cheaper than a knight, but with equal damage. They're more durable,
Yep.
Anyway, so I don't know if that's helped. Are there any other tips playing into Necrons or anything else you can think of before we move on to one of the other big bad armies?
Don't get baited into the warrior fight. realistically, none of our units can fully pick up a warrior blob. If it looks like there's a lone warrior that's been left there and you can get a charge on with a lancer or is tempting to shoot, it's probably there to be shot or to get charged. Just don't fall for it.
Right.
I've done that too many times.
Oh, 100% do. That is like, yeah, I got bitten by the warrior regeneration quite early on in my tournament life with a very good local player. And it was one of those, okay, I've got you on 0 for your primary. No, wait a minute, you're scoring 15. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just regenerating here and here and here, and I've got all these objectives now. Right, cool. Okay. So that's Necrons, and I know there are some Necron questions specifically that we'll come to later on. Another one of the, right at the very top of the tier list for Adam and Nathaniel was the Chaos Demons. And I don't know if there is one Chaos Demons list that's better than all the others, but they seem to be doing really well, particularly with the change to the big chicken, the 3 damage weapon, the other changes, the glow up that's had.
Yeah.
That's now in every list. So what do we do against demons?
I'd say there's 2 demons builds mainly at the moment. You get Scintillating Legion, which is 3 big chickens, a Lord of Change, a Demon Prince, and some Screamers, some other units. And then you get Incursion,
right,
which is the monster mash. You got your Scarbrand, Great Unclean One, what's he called, Be'lakor, and then all the classic hits on that one. They're the 2 main builds you see at the moment. I think we play
that's what I played yesterday.
Yeah. So I think that's Incursion's the harder one for us with all the sort of, all the uppy downy they have, the 6-inch drop, the Scarbrand coming in and making a random heroic into a massive charge, and he can just one round a knight. It's a hard game. It's all about, into the Incursion build specifically, it's all about remembering that screening. It's so important because that can just one bad rapid ingress and we are on such a back foot into that game.
Screening's really hard when you're playing 5 big knights, Rees. I'm not sure if you and there's nowhere like this was the issue yesterday, and I'm playing again 2 lancers and an Atropos. So, and I kept the Gallant off the table because again, screening is impossible. And I thought I want to make sure he's alive for later on because he can slap.
Yeah.
Canis Rex is, in the minds of our opponents, usually Canis Rex is a priority kill. So I kind of had Canis. I'll tell you how I kind of worked out at the start that I wanted to play it. You tell me if I'm an idiot. And don't be shy. I used Canis almost as bait, knowing full well I can't screen it, knowing he's just going to die immediately to Scarbrand or Be'lakor. I put Canis, in an area, but I kept the Lancers both within slapback range, right? They can move, and I took movement and kill a character as my 2 things. And then once he deployed, I named the character, and off we go, Scarbrand. So he picks Scarbrand up, brings him down behind Canis Rex as and then charges and kills Canis like that. It was so easy, it was ridiculous. Canis Rex went up in a puff of smoke. But then Sir Hector gets out, stands in the corner of a building. He can run into the middle and get me points next turn. But then the Lancer comes and kills Scarbrand immediately. I put 2 Lancers on that job because then that brought them a little bit further away from the Great Unclean One can barely move. That means if he wants to kill my Lancers, he has to pick up another couple of things and bring them down. So, like I say, Canis is an expensive piece of bait, but I figured if I gave him the opportunity to come and get it, he would do it, and he did. And then I've got the ability to clap back into that and use my other Lancer to go and get some other stuff, or use the Atropos to kill other stuff. I get honored. I get all my bits back. Get rerolls. Yeah. That was the.
No, I think it's how you have to play it, right? In that matchup, you have to give to take, and realistically, when they've got that much deep strike and that much potential, you're never going to get the first punch. But you have to dictate what you're willing to lose. And in a game where they can do late 18-inch lone up and jump around the board, and Canis is a little bit of a shadow of his former self. I wouldn't be too sad losing him there. So,
just compared to the other units, but
yeah,
and also he's the easiest kill, him and the Gallant. But I really love, I've discovered in all my games with the Gallant, I really love him being alive late in the game, because he can just, if he's alive in turn 4 and 5, he can just, assuming you've killed the other stuff that can really hurt him, he just marches across the table, whatever he wants. It's so good.
The later the game, the more his stock.
Oh yeah. So anyway, sorry for taking this off on a tangent, but so that's how I played it yesterday, just with 5 bigs. Obviously, the game plan changes if you do have screening units or smaller knights. Then, if you've got the ability to screen them, for God's sake, you've just got to screen. Keep your important units in a bubble, because then he's got Scarbrand charging subductors or whatever, and he doesn't want to do that.
No, I think that's a huge part. Just even if you can't screen, just like you were talking about then, dictate the engagement you want. Whilst you can't naturally screen, you can stop him getting engages onto key models. Like you're saying, you wanted to keep the Archboss safer. So keeping him safe, but sacrificing, say, a Lancer or a Canis, you have to do it sometimes. It's the right play.
Yeah. I'm never going to sacrifice a Lancer. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you do that? That's my favorite toy. And the other one was scintillating something or other. So what is the build there, and what does that do to us?
So long and short with scintillating, basically it's Tzeentch mono build, right? They take all the chickens, they take the named chicken, they take Scarbrand usually, and they jump around the board, shoot in their now damage-free shots. They have access to an enhancement called Puppeteer, which for 10 points is the most disgusting thing. You can draw a line of sight from another unit and just shoot as if you were shooting from there. So suddenly, for 1 CP, you use, I think it's called like Pyrokinesis or something like that, one of the enhanced stratagems. Your chicken goes to Strength 12, AP 3, can go Sustained D3, and it's damage free, and you don't even need line of sight. And you can just start chipping away. It'll kill an Armiger on average. That and another chicken kills a big knight on average. It's tough, but it's not unplayable, because it does, if you can play it right, it folds to fast pressure. Because it's so expensive and greedy in the big pieces, it doesn't have huge amounts of screening usually, or huge amounts of trading. So as soon as you get through those first couple of units, and as soon as you get into that like castle of birds, it's a good day.
Okay. So but the challenge is
getting
so that's interesting. Scintillating one, because that, even though I thought I was playing the Monster Mash, that weapon is what I was playing against with sustained D3 on the gun. Was an option. You can choose different things, right? You can choose either sustain or ignores cover. Yeah. So that's what he was doing, choosing the sustained D3 usually, although I didn't come up against the out of line of sight. But that does sound brutal.
Yeah,
because you could just move some cheap crap unit into, out into where it's got line of sight, and then you can shoot through that. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, they've changed it now where the unit that's shooting needs line of sight of the unit is shooting through. So you just run screamers up, point the bird at the screamers, it shoots through the screamers and just bangs your knight. It can be tough. Yeah,
okay. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. That sounds very Tau, actually. It sounds like the old that cheap little plane thing, and use it to point at you. So the way to deal with that, as you're saying, is if you can again chew through the cheap stuff, get into the castle of birds, and then from there on, and hopefully it's going all right. The challenge is to do that without losing. But I did find, interestingly, with that gun, as scary as it is, it's probably amazing into elite infantry armies. But against us, one of those, it can really whiff. Like I found in each shooting activation, it didn't come close to killing a big knight by itself. So it would chip away, and then something else, Bellicor, would charge in and then finish it off. You know what I mean?
So the big difference in this detachment is you can pump it up to strength 12, and that way it's wounding big knights on freeze, and that's where the swinginess is less. You also get the detachment rule is you get flux tokens, so you can use them to reroll a hit, a wound, a save, and it's just 3 rerolls, and they go back and forth. If they use them, we get them. If we use them, the opponent gets them back, but they get more efficiency out of them than we do.
Right. How do we? What do you mean?
So if they use a flux token, they then give us a flux token. And we can use that for rerolls. But then if we use it, they get one back. Or if we have one at the start of our turn, they also get another one. So they can stockpile them better.
Right. Okay. Wow, that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Yeah, I got a flux token. Oh, now I'm basically giving you an extra flux token. Okay, that's All right. So I haven't had a look to see the list, whether they're scintillating or just monster, but I'll go through now. This is armed with the information that you're giving me and our listeners and viewers. We'll now be able to go through the list, see what we're up against, and hopefully figure out and formulate a plan for dealing with it. Okay, so that is a bit of a brief run through of the Chaos Demons that you're likely to face at an event. What about Astra Militarum? Because this is an army that, for whatever reason, I always have struggled into, and it's another one where I feel like, you kill a bunch of stuff, and then you look up, and it's like, wait, there's still so much stuff.
Yeah.
How do you? And the big tanks that could already pop a knight can pop it better now. They're Astra Militarum's scary. So what does Grizzled give them?
So it's just changed yesterday. But initially, it was reroll 1s to hit on the wound and reroll 1s to hit. To reroll 1s to hit, basically, if the unit shooting had an order. That's the main gist of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it just made stuff like Rogel Dawns and Kassakin and Rough Riders and Scions so efficient.
Yeah. So Rogel, so you give orders to a Rogel Dawn, and it's re-rolling 1s to hit.
Yep. And wound.
And wound, or just and wound. Okay. Whew.
So I think the wound part was if they're on an objective, but generally whatever they were shooting at would get the reroll. They've lost the reroll 1s to wound now. That's a big thing. That in the last day, it's like that just happened. That's gone.
Okay, so they'll have Astra Militarum players crying that they're not as efficient, but they're just still they get a lot of stuff. The Bullgrin are pretty good. They've recently again they went way up in points and lost some stuff, but they've got the stuff back and they've come down slightly in points. So I'm expecting a few more Bullgrin will make their way into lists now. So it's just I think a really tough army for us to play because, again, of our 24-inch gun, the gun that we have that can take them out, and again, outside of a Castellan, if you take a Castellan, things are slightly different. But they've got all these units that can screen, that can go and score points, that can do run, and move around the place. And then behind that, they've got tanks that can just look at a knight and go, pop, you're done. And they've got 5 of them. So how do we play into that? What do we do?
So I think out of all the armies we're talking about, Guard are the scariest for us. And I've been playing Guard recently myself as a bit of a palate cleanser, and honestly, it's vile. It's not even just, say, the Rogel Dawns or anything like that. It's, say, like a Kaskin unit. They get a 2d3 mortal wound mine, and then they can throw a grenade. And then they get plasma guns and melter guns. And away, that, 100-point unit has just done about a third to a big knight. And it's just... It means nothing to them losing that Kaskin, right? But it's a big chunk for us. And you were saying about the Bullgrins. In this detachment, you can take a Commissar of an enhancement to actually give Bullgrins orders now. So they can hit on 2s, or they can get bonus OC. And 6 Bullgrins at OC 2 a pop with -1 damage, 4 up Invuln, 6 up Feel No Pain. We can't shift that from an objective efficiently. We're not winning that fight.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how hard Bullgrin hit, but the hard thing with them has always just been shifting them, just getting rid of them.
Yeah.
And as I say, if you're focusing on them, the Rogel Dawns are staying alive. So you probably don't want to be focusing on the Bullgrin. Who gives a shit? Beg your pardon? Yes. I'm having to self-edit. Let's not focus on it. Let's move away quickly. But yeah, so am I right in saying that? Just don't worry about the Bullgrin. If they're on an objective, fine. We really need to get to the Rogel Dawns because those are the things that can outright kill us. Is that fair to say? Or I mean, I guess everything can, but
Rogel Dawns can kill us. The other thing
any
you're
of
going to
the
be
tanks.
seeing.
Sorry, when I say Rogel Dawns, I mean any tank, any of
Yeah.
their tanks components. Yeah.
I'll say the other two things to watch out for that are cropping up in lists are the Lehman Russ Vanquishers. It's basically like a Rupture Cannon Tyrannofex on a Lehman Russ. Like that is one shot, but my God, does that one shot hurt? And also the 10 to 15 man Scion blobs. They're coming back into Grizzled, especially with losing the one to reroll wounds. Scions innately reroll all wounds against stuff on an objective. And with like plasma guns, which are, strength 9, melters at strength 9, you've got a strat to up your weapon strength by 1. You can give lethals, you can suddenly drop this unit in, pick up 2 armors easily, or do 2/3 of a knight with that one unit. It's really horrid.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good. And they, as you say, they drop in, right? So, and do they have I don't know if this is still a thing, but don't they have a thing where they could take a unit up and then bring it back with full strength somewhere else? I don't know.
That's only in a detachment. So that's only in combined arms.
Right. Got it. All right. Okay. So what are the tactics? What do we do? We've said that they're scary, but how do we? Sure.
Just realistically,
they're praying to the Emperor as well. So
it's going to be a game of trying to scalp the units you can, right? Realistically, a good player is not going to let you get access to their backline tanks. They're going to screen it. They're going to stop you getting it with their hundreds of men. But it's a case of limiting efficiency. So say if you can destroy a Taurox before it actually gets towards you, or a Chimera which has those Kassakin or has those Scions in it, it limits what they can do. If you can get a Lancer to engage Bullgrin when, say, only 3 or 4 of them are on that objective, you kill 1 or 2, you can suddenly control that objective. If you're going second and they've pushed up and all of a sudden, they've flooded the board, they're on all the natural expansion, they're staging behind walls, it's going to be tough. But it's a case of you have to, going back to what we were saying earlier, you have to accept certain losses, putting certain knights out, because realistically, a Rogel Dawn doesn't kill a knight on its own. 2 do struggle. If they get in melter range, they do. And it's bringing that forward, or it's bringing those blobs of Scions or Kassakin down and forcing the engagement where it works. Forcing it on their natural expansion rather than yours helps out a ton, because then holding yours is always going to be easier. And putting pressure and aggression on that side, it can ease the board plan a little bit.
Okay. So pressure and aggression on their natural expansion.
Yeah.
Have a look at that side. Also, if they don't screen exactly right and you've got a Lancer or 2 in your list, you've got a lot of movement, right? You've got a lot of speed. You've got a lot of ability. So they have to be really careful with those tanks, because as much as a couple of Rogel Dawns can kill a Lancer can kill a tank right back. So if you can, and again, just tell me if I'm talking out of a hole in my bum, but if you can kill the scoring units and the screening units, you're going to need to spend a couple of turns doing that, and then maybe the next 3 turns just making up for lost points. Is that a way of looking at it? Is that a way of doing it?
Yeah, no, completely. We'll often lose the early game primary to guard, and it's about clawing it back as you go on. The other thing to note about the Lancer comment, a lot of people will screen with their infantry quite close to the tanks. It's always worth trying to see if you can leave like 2 or 3, right? Charge that Lancer in, tank shock that 2 or 3, and then because you can pile in to that tank and still fight. So even if you don't kill that unit fully, sometimes it gives you that extra 3 inches of movement to get into that vehicle that it's actually worth considering. Do I want to keep those 2 guardsmen alive?
Yeah. Actually, it's a great point. This is something with the Lancer that I have utilized, and I'm not winning games at your level, but I do find this is something that people forget. Even if you tell them this is the thing that you can do, And it's not like a gotcha or a trick because it's just a rule of the game. It's not unique to our army. But you can charge a Lancer in to a unit, tank shock the unit. If you kill the unit, you can then pile in and fight something else. Now, if that is a fight's first unit that you're piling into, they don't get to punch you in the face. You get to punch them because they haven't activated yet. So, but also just, things like if you've got a rhino on a couple of wounds, you charge into it, you get rid of those couple of wounds, and then you pile into the unit that got out of the rhino, or pile into another unit that's on an objective. These are things you can do in the fight phase with a Lancer or a Gallant that people forget about, that even we forget about being able to do. And it's a totally legit tactic and strategy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that gives us a broad understanding. There are some other questions that will come up when we get to the Discord and the Patreon. Are there any other armies that we need to look at? Those are the big three. There was another one you mentioned though.
I think Marines we can give a run over as well, because you've got two main builds with Marines, right? You've got Ultramarines Victrix, and you've got, I think, Blood Angels Rage Curse or Rage Fueled, whatever it's called, the new detachment. Those two are both sort of a bit more prevalent. Onslaught. Yeah, that's the one.
That's a lot of fun, that one. I'm building a Blood Angels army. I'm just enjoying that a lot. But I will say it's fragile. Like if a person playing that army doesn't play it exactly right, it dies real fast.
Yeah. So that's what we have to take advantage of, right? It's a case of they'll kill us, but as long as this is one of those games where you probably don't want to clump. You don't want to give one big death ball unit of Death Company 2 knights to go into. You want to give it one, and then your knight goes back into it after. It's all about spacing on that matchup, and it's super playable. But if you just get tagged that little bit too much, suddenly the game is going real horizontal fast.
If you are playing into, and I want to ask more about broad plans for maybe not the Blood Angels build, but the Gladius build.
Yeah.
But if you're playing against, say, a Blood Angels World Eaters, these things that we're terrified of, if you've got units that can go into either end of a group of things and force them to have to pile into you, at different ends so that they can't just pile all into one thing, then that's helpful. And as you say, spreading out. I find with World Eaters particularly, spread out as much as you can, and that just forces them to spread out as well. If you're putting 2 units in one place, like this is the opposite of the Necrons advice, right?
Yeah.
If you put 2 units on an objective, they'll come and kill both. So you need to put one there and then put something within range to go and get revenge, right? If particularly with World Eaters, and I think Blood Angels are the same. A lot of the those builds with armies that are very combat heavy, they'll have 2 or 3 blobs of things that can really do big damage, and then a lot of other stuff, usually a lot of MSU after that. So you've got a Death Company and some Sanguinary Guard and whatever. If you can bait them out and then just kill them, then the rest of the army becomes a lot easier to deal with. Is that right?
No, yeah, that's completely right. Because even if, say, the big brick doesn't kill 2 knights, we're pretty poor efficient-wise in melee at killing 10 marine bodies. So it just ties us up for another turn. And as an army where our big key units just don't have fallback, shoot, and charge, being tied up is hard, man. It's rough.
See, this is why you need to play Questoris Companions. I mean, I know it's 2CP, but fallback, shoot, and charge with a Lancer is pretty good. Yeah. But and you know what? That's one of the bugbears is, how can a giant knight not kill 10 guardsmen or scouts or whatever might be because you just don't have the swings. You roll a couple of ones on the hit roll with a Lancer and that's it. So you're like, okay, cool. It is. It's challenging when you get charged with, a horde army charges a bunch of stuff in and you're trapped. You're done. Okay, what about the Gladius build? This is really strong and also really popular. Space Marines are everywhere, and they're right at the top. So how do we deal with like the big popular Space Marine builds?
Again, you'll probably find where they've got a blob or two of Victrix on a guard, a couple of tanks, be it like Vindicators or Predators or the Hammer Strike Speeders. They're gaining popularity, and then again, a lot of Marine builds. Yeah, they'll have Gulliman in there as well, but they're really low on scoring units. A lot of builds at the moment, in general, are just so greedy with the economy of, I've got units that kill and can do this and can charge a million miles and do that. But if you suddenly kill their 2 scoring pieces, that big scary unit has to sit on the middle objective so they can score points.
Right.
And Gladius Marine builds really fall into that at the minute, where they are so aggressive and so hyper and sort of tight focused on points. They're running low on scoring. If you can get, say, scalp a key couple of them or force one big unit to go from one side to the other to have to try and take that point back or try and actually get them primary denial, it really works. Basically, don't fall into playing their game. Play where you want to play. Like,
doing what you've got to do against Drukhari, and if they've got things in transports, kill the transport, make them walk across the table.
Yes. It's really helpful.
And so something like a Rhino is just so freaking annoying with also being able to just hold a point, right? Kill the Rhino, you're making their Victrix Guard walk, but also making their Victrix Guard, not that I don't know if they can get in a Rhino, but you know what I mean. The theory is the same. Whatever is in the Rhino has to walk, but also whatever's in the Rhino, if it's a good unit of Chosen or whatever, they've got to then hold the point or something expensive to hold the point if the Rhino's gone. So it feels useless killing a Rhino, but actually it's, worth doing, right? Or not.
Exactly that. The other key thing for Ultramarines in general, which are like the most popular right now, Gulliman gives them the ability to double oath. Like if they kill their first oath target, they can move it to a second one. It's key to try and make sure you're not overexposing low health knights into areas of mass firepower. So you're not going to just lose that knight guaranteed so they can get that double oath. Because if they greedily put it on there, but your knight lives, suddenly that next unit that's lined up to shoot the healthy knight is so much less efficient.
Right. Yeah, that double O thing is just, man, that's tough. And they have a lot of jank as well, jumping back into transports, bits and pieces. It's like it's a little bit like playing an Eldar army, but much tougher. It's like,
it does feel it,
and they can kill stuff way more than you think they're going to. Like their shooting efficiency and punching efficiency is so good, especially with Oath. And we are the ideal army to play Oath against. Pick the big thing and kill it. Pick the next big thing in turn 2 and kill it. So
it really is, isn't it?
Yeah. So just, I don't know, broadly speaking, and again, it depends on which detachment and what tricks we have available to us as well. But it's a scary thing to have to come up against. But kill the scoring units, kill the transports. How do we deal with Gilliman? How do we deal with the, those big things?
You just have to be smart in this matchup about what you're exposing where. If you've got a low health knight, try and expose it. I know this is common sense, right? But try and expose it to as little angles as possible. Because if they do whiff on those, say, like that Vindicator and that one charge going into it, not getting Oath on that second big knight, it changes the efficiency of their dice so much. The losing rerolls, the losing +1 to wound. Suddenly that Lancer that was lined up to die is only taken like 10 wounds. It really is all about trying to mitigate, basically get them as greedy as possible to Oath. That one knight that's got 2 melters going into it, because when he lives, that turn it goes so much better for you.
Right. So pray. That's again. Pray. Pray for 4-ups. that's the strategy. Hey, let's get to some questions from our Patreon first of all. Unless there's anything else you want to add, mate, before we move on.
I think that's pretty much it.
Beginner Sam, do you think Horde lists have play into the meta?
As in Horde lists in general, or sort of spearhead
Yeah, I
hordes.
guess so. I mean, that's the whole question.
I'd say
I don't know.
I think in general horde lists have play.
Reading between the lines, I'm thinking his question means I'm thinking of pivoting away from knights. Do you think I should go with a horde army? So horde lists have play, yes.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think spearhead with lots of armigers does as well, if that's the other option. So yes to both.
Yeah, actually, do you know what? Let's be just before we carry on with those questions, given what we've been talking about, the Necrons, and I guess they're all different with different challenges, but is there a detachment that you like the best to take on the current, the guard, the Necron with all the warriors? Is it Spearhead or Gate Warden? I don't know. Is there a detachment you like the best just for facing these challenges?
I really don't hate 5 big Inquestors right now. I really don't hate that at all.
Same, bro. Because even if you lose, you're having a lot of fun. It's like, and I know we've said this before, but that is another thing that I think is worth considering. With all of this great advice from Rees, who is a top player, when you're going to an event, you're going to have a better time if you have set your goals in a place where they're more about the fun you're going to have with the army. You're playing the models you want to. I mean, if you're desperate to win an event, you're probably at this point pivoting to a different army, or like then you're really playing at a level at the next level up. But I do just feel like you want to make sure that your goals are at a place where you can go and enjoy the event and have some fun and take the army you want to take, Jake says, how do you approach deployment against these armies when running 4 big knights? So there's some secondaries that you're just resigned to not being able to score. I tend to just have to ignore the middle at the start and split forces between my natural expansion and my enemies. What do you think?
I don't hate that. I think it might be better, obviously matchup dependent, map dependent, all of this, but there's more secondaries you score by being on the center objective than being on the opponent's natural expansion. It's just something to consider. Right. You can score more options that way. But in general, yeah, you basically have to choose 2 objectives, split which way you're going, get that started from, deployment and go that. I think you're doing it bang on right there.
So many maps have the middle is just wide open, right? If you're sending something into the middle, it's going to die. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you, but then you've got to consider also points can be hard to come by. So 5 points for going into the middle to get area denial first turn. If you've got something cheap that can go do that, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the game state and what you're up against, but I feel like if you can score 5, 7, 9 in turn 1, man, you're off to a great start. And then you can kind of turtle it a little bit and hope for a comeback later. Daniel, with the new CSM detachment and Necrons Pantheon of Woes, double Lancer a minimum for competitive list? Yes. Yes.
No, I agree. I think double Lancer is currently the way to play. I think triple's too much Lancer, but I think double is like a sweet spot right now.
Obviously, Dustin Hammond, who was our guest last time, plays triple Lancer, double Atropos was his list at the team's event. He owns 6 Lancers, so there's no such thing as Lancer.
He's a hero. Team's a different beast. Run 3 Lancers, I love that. But yeah, singles in general.
And is that because of the durability and also the ability to dish out mortal wounds? Are they the reasons we like a Lancer? I mean, durability for me is the number one consideration because we lack that right now, but I'm interested to know why you think double Lancer.
I never take a Lancer to kill something, right? I take a Lancer to move fast, look scary, and stand there and roll 4-ups. And it's our best resource to do so.
Yes, indeed. Jin, our friend Jin Singh, with the rise of Necrons, ongoing increase of Marines, do you consider certain knights near auto includes? If so, who and why?
Let me tell you about the Lancer. I think he is a prime candidate here.
The Castellan's getting a lot of love too now just because of the long-range threat. Into Necrons, I mean, I love an Errant just because, but then the Errant lacks the durability that we were talking about, the speed that we value.
Yeah.
It becomes the number one In my other list, it was the number one target for rapid ingress. But now, see, in this list, I have Canis Rex and a Gallant, and one of them is going to be rapid ingressing. So I don't have the Errant as much as I love it. But are there big knights, Rees, that you, outside of the Lancer, which we agree that we love, are there big knights that you think are either auto includes or strongly encouraged?
The Atropos is just very good in the meta currently. There's lots of monsters, there's lots of vehicles, there's lots of 3 or 4 wound infantry, which, he's got 2 damage strike, he's got 2 damage melee weapons, so you're picking up, you only need 2 to go through, or the gun itself, it's good. I think it's the age-old Lancer Atropos good. It's never not good.
Yeah, and do you know what the funny thing is? If I had 2 Atroposes, then I would be running 2 because one is good, but one can whiff.
Mm-hmm.
2, there's some redundancy in there, and they're just good in combat. I mean, they're pretty good in shooting, but they're really good in combat, and they're still pretty fast. I really like the Atropos, and I know not everybody does, but for me, that's almost the first knight that goes in the list, even above the Lancer. If I could have 2 of those and 1 Lancer, I probably would do it that way around. I don't know. I love the Atropos as well. Let's carry on with the questions, because this is one of those. It's a little bit what you prefer as well.
Yeah.
If you're playing Pure Knights, Jinder's got 3 questions in here, so we'll just get through them all. If you're playing Pure Knights with very limited allies, how do you decide between screening and scoring, especially when the enemy has dangerous units in reserves? The screening versus scoring question is always a tough one.
I think it depends on what round you're in and how much you're willing to compromise, right? If I'm in round 2 and I know they got Scarbrand there, sod off those 5 points on primary. I'm keeping my knights alive. I'm screening. If it's turn 4 and they've took something back up and suddenly I'm 10 ahead and I need to keep that momentum going, I'll risk my key unit getting charged to keep that pressure on primary. It all depends on board state and game state, but generally early on, keep stuff safe. It's never a bad option to screen early. Most armies can't come in past turn 3, so you're not stuck doing it the whole game.
Yeah, the other thing to think about, and again, this is detachment dependent, but something like Questora's Companions has sticky objectives available, and big knights can still score and do stuff. I mean, that's another thing you've got to remember, and I sometimes forget, is if you draw Cleanse or any of the action ones, Sabotage, all of these things, your big knight can go and stand on a thing and shoot something and still be doing the scoring for you. So I think knights are in a unique position, actually, where, as you were saying, other armies, they really don't want to have their block of 10 Terminators standing on the middle cleansing an objective. They don't want that. We can do that and still be efficient in shooting. You don't want your Lancer doing it, but you can have your Castellan doing it. You can have your Atropos doing it, shooting and still scoring points. So I think we have to. Sorry.
You can, if you get charged or you're in combat, you can shoot, you can action, and then you can fight in that fight phase. You just can't charge.
Great shout. Again, we forget. You can't charge, but if they charge you, you're still all right to do what you need to do. Okay. One more from Jind before we move on to Nicholas. How do you play into a trading game when the enemy just has more units to trade? And I think this is every enemy at the moment, certainly the Necrons, certainly the Astra Militarum. and particularly if you're going first. And this is something actually I really struggle with, Rees, is going first. I'd rather go second, let them come out and have to score some points or make those decisions and then react to that.
I prefer going first. I think being able to get into the position where you're staged up, because realistically, we are, like you say, we're going to be outnumbered in units nearly every game, unless you're in a mirror or some mad lads bought 3 Storm Surges. It's going to be outnumbered most games. It's a case of using, it's like we've been saying all talk. Use one knight, bring out the key threats, make sure you've got yourself in a position where you can punch into those threats. The thing we have against other armies is the more we kill their anti-tank, the less efficient they kill us. So even when it's we have 1 or 2 units left and they have 2 or 3, most likely we'll be better into those 2 or 3 units they have left than their 2 or 3 will be into us. And it's making sure you keep that pressure going and just keep yourself in the fight that way.
Yeah, so then the question becomes not so much about the trading, but about, and even I think the question more than screening versus scoring, the question for me most games is, am I eliminating their scoring unit or their unit that can kill me back?
Yeah.
I'm almost always going to try and get rid of the thing that can kill me back, because if that's gone, then I can score what I want late game. I mean, I can just, if they don't have anything left that can realistically kill a big knight, you can do what you want, right?
Yeah.
So, so that usually becomes the question for me. All right. So, oh, sorry. And I did say Nicholas, one more. Is there anything worse for us than the lion? The lion's so horrible.
I hate that guy.
Yeah. So you just have to hope, and this is not a valid tactic at the top tables, but you just got to hope that they misplace him, put him out in the open somewhere, and you can go and get him.
Free up invulns, man.
I know. It's that shouldn't be in the game. A 3-up invuln shouldn't be a part of the game anymore. Like, it's just not. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what you do about the. All right. Let's. We're an hour into the episode, and we appreciate people listening thus far. And we did say on our Discord that we'd be able to answer some questions. You okay to spend another 5 minutes just racing through some of these?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll pick the ones that we haven't already touched on. Sovereign House Omnis wants to know, is a Warhound too much to deal with a Catan?
Price-wise or points-wise? Because yes to both.
Yes, to both. You don't need a Warhound. But look, if you want to take a Warhound, or what's the what's the big one? Again, I'm brain fried. Can't remember. But in Imperial Knights, there are people taking, the very large beast that's like 700 points, whatever it is.
The monster.
Yeah. John, Possum Handler, is it ever worth putting a knight like an errant into reserves to try and counter movements or to reduce the amount of targets you're presenting on the table?
I think some games definitely, yeah. Like you've been saying, your rapid ingress gallant threat. It doesn't even just reduce what you have on the table. It makes them have to be honest with their screening. They have to keep units back. They have to keep it in their sort of, back of their head that is a threat. I think there are many games where that is a very worth option.
Yeah. I know that Dustin last episode was saying in all his games in the teams event, he just put all 5 on the table and went nuts. Just very aggressive play. And that's obviously valid. But there are matchups like the one where they can jump up and down and bounce around, where I was like, I don't want to lose this guy immediately, and that's what will happen. So definitely valid. If they play the line, says Andy, against something without Necrons, would it just be easier to not even roll the rolling dice and just remove the model?
I'm sensing a lot of people have been touched by the lion at the minute, and it's very fair. I hate that model.
That also applies after my game yesterday to Scarbrand. If the Scarbrand charges something that doesn't have an invul, if you're just ready to go and have a drink, pick up Canis Rex or the Gallant or whatever you've got, put it back on your tray, and carry on. But Pusa, what is the most effective? Yeah. What is the most effective way to deal with multiple Catan? So we've dealt with that. We're going to, if it's all right, Vapusa, go back and listen to the start of the episode. Johnny, Gateward and Lance Lover, I'm going to already say no to this since I've had my Knights live against the Lion. I should just, in the Discord, set up a separate channel for the Lion. Who's been touched by the Lion? Yeah. Anyway. Oh, actually, sorry, he was answering someone else's question, Andy's question. Yeah. Any advice on how to get your armigers working against the big bads like Catan and the Chicken Squad? I switched out from Spearhead as I just didn't find the damage output enough. I'm happy to say I'm enjoying Gate, Warden, Lance more in the meta, but he wants to play the armigers, Luke, in the Platonic Knights. So is Spearhead something that can go up against these things?
100%. It's something I've probably been finding more success with in the Catan is just, you got 6 melters. Melter plus, Melter 4 is just so good into them. And it's all about efficiency. You do need to put, on average, say like 3 Warglaves into a Catan to have okay odds at picking it up. And that's then with a charge. You can't just bank on 1 or 2. You do have to overcommit, and that can be tough because then you just, you lose 2 in return. but you should win that trading game. You do just, like I say, you have to overcommit, and that can feel really bad.
I love Warglaives so much if you're playing with rerolls. And I love them to a point where I forget that they can also just whiff. So there are so many times where I've gone, well, I'm going to put my Warglaive into that rhino. That'll kill that. I'll do something else over there. And then the Warglaive doesn't kill the rhino. And you're like, wait, what happened there? So not. Then there are other times where you only get one shot and one wound through, and whatever you've shot blows up because you get roll a 6 on the dice.
10 damage.
Okay. There we go. Love it. Heidi84, what are some good backup strategies that you can fall back on? That's a very broad question.
Have fun. Not every game's going to go well. Just try and have a laugh is my general.
Yeah.
It's very broad.
And know that it's either going to go great or terrible, and you're just going to have fun rolling dice.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, it's an early lunch and a beer. Heidi, look, I don't know what the answer is to that in all seriousness. Hopefully you've gleaned some stuff from the rest of the episode that'll help. The Necron Warrior Brick, how do we deal with that? It's oppressive. Joe, I feel like we covered that off. I hope we covered it off enough. Jip wants to know why you looked elsewhere instead of playing Knights over your last few events. You said palette cleanser. That's fair enough.
Yeah, it's literally I've played Knights since I started 2 years ago, and it's all I've played. So I kind of need to learn how to play infantry at some point.
Yeah, I look, I think that's fair, and no one is going to worry. Like I said, I'm playing Blood Angels every now and then just because you get sick of painting yellow and you get sick of bringing the same 5 toys to a game. What would Imperial Knights need in the upcoming releases to turn you back onto them? I don't know if it's turn you back onto them. And I feel like this is a question that keeps coming up. So let's deal with it. What do we need to make us better? Like come the new edition, come a new book, whatever. Is there a wish list, or is there just no point? People on YouTube can see me waving. That's to my boss who's just walked past the window.
I think we need slight points drops. I think we're too costly for what we do. Yeah. I think there needs to be some change in general for super heavy walkers and how they interact with falling back. I think it just inherently it's a really hard thing for the faction to deal with. And the biggest thing, the most egregious change that ever happened that has made me so sad is Warglaives going to 18 inches. Give me back 24. Like, that's the worst nerf we've ever had, if you ask me.
That and the OC change, like and I know you're being facetious a little bit, but
no, like I genuinely mean that.
Oh, right. Okay, good. Well, the inability for us to just hold the point now is when you take away a pip of toughness, you take away the rotate iron shields, you take away the OC, you take away the melter range. That's just a lot of changes, a lot of kind of little nerfs that add up to quite a big deal, which is why we went from S tier to like really right at the bottom. That was a big drop down the table. I honestly think if we could get that pip of toughness back would be a big deal, or if we could get the OC back. And the other thing I would love to see, without it being silly, is if we had, say, 2 CP for an Overwatch style ability. Just because at the moment we've got armies that you've got dudes just strolling around, across in front of a big knight, giving it the finger, getting all set up for a charge, not worrying. At least if they had to think about, look, this guy might play that 2 CP strat and kill some of the stuff. No, we might not, but just having that in the back of their mind somewhere would, I think, I'd just love to see it. The other thing we really miss is defensive strats.
Yes.
Most attachments, someone charges into a knight and you go, okay, have at it, because I got nothing I can do. Yeah, the fight on death.
Oh, Canis fighting on death.
Broken. It's, so good. Anyway, look, I'm just a couple more if that's okay. Let's get through these. Chadley, Whiplash, any recommendations for dealing with fast melee armies like Blood Angels? We've dealt with that. Twist, we talk a lot about meta plays, but some players are still getting into the game. What's a good list you would suggest if they just want to enjoy at most casual games?
easy answer, I could say, right, play what looks cool, play what you like. I'd say a good answer is, well, it's a good answer, but a good answer, bring a good mix of stuff. Don't lean too heavy into like all Crusaders. You want a good mix arms. You want, say, a Lancer or a Gallant for your front line. You want, say, an Errant or a Warden or some other form of Knight which can do a bit of both, and then maybe a Crusader. Get enough of your sort of options for melee, for shooting. Do bring what looks cool, because that's how you get into the hobby, right? You find what looks cool, it has a cool moment in game, and then suddenly you're hooked. But make sure you're not leaning too heavy.
This is the advice that the people at our local games workshop gave to me right at the very beginning, is pick what looks cool. Pick an army you like the look of, toys you like the look of, the units you like the rules for, or whether you're, the color scheme you like, whatever it is. My army is Hawkshroud because my local sports teams are black and yellow, and I just like that combo. And the more I looked into the lore of it, then I liked that idea as well. So that's how they painted. And then I've come up with my own backstory, all of that. Pick what you like, because every army and every unit, other than Necrons, will have ups and downs. Other than Necrons and Eldar, they're just pretty much always good. Everything else is going to have times when it's really strong. Even Knights, not so long ago, really strong. And then they'll have times like now where it's much harder. But if you just enjoy it, or you have a couple of armies, whatever, just enjoy the models. That at least gives you something to paint and then dust off when they get good again. In terms of simplicity, is there a detachment that is easier? Spearhead's pretty easy to get your head around. It's hard to play well, but easy to get your head around. Balustrade,
nice and easy as well, yeah.
Paul recently attended an ITT and started the day going 2-0, and then drew into Custodies. How do you deal with them and their strong saves, and also them hitting like a truck? Custodies is another very good and getting better army.
Yes, it's one of those where, again, I'm going to sound like I'm echoing what I was saying before. They have few units, they're like us. It's a case of drawing them out. We're actually okay into them because we're a multi-phase army. Wardens can only 4-up Feel No Pain in, say, one phase. So if you go to shoot it, they have to do it at the start as well. So realistically, line yourself up for 2 options. If the Wardens pop it, just ignore them. You're not killing them. But then that's gone. And realistically, you could then push that way. They are just very hard to play into for us because the amount of swingy 4-ups. And again, it's another army you kind of have to overcommit into.
So here's how I have said before on the podcast that I deal with Custodies, and I'm not saying I always win against Custodies, but how I play into them. And I also think for me, this is how I try and approach Death Guard as well. And you can tell me whether this is a rubbish idea, but I try and chip them down. So if you've got a unit of 5 dudes, that's dangerous. But if you've got a unit of 2, then you can hold objectives against them. Then they're not going to kill you. I find rather than having to overcommit to killing 1 unit of 5 dudes, if I can knock them down to a couple of guys left and then focus on something else, I'm not as worried about that unit. Is that a fair way of... And then also when you charge into it, you've got a better chance of doing something against it. I find stay at a bit of a distance, shoot into things, try and chip them away so that there's only a couple left. And then you don't have to... That's my idea.
Definitely. I think the only exception is units like your big 5-man brick with a Trajan or a Blade Champ, because then even 2 on a character can still really punch up.
Yeah. Trajan changes the math, and the Blade... What is the Blade Champion? The one that can advance and charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Jake struggled at the ITT against Deathwing Knights and units that use the -1 to wound toughness mechanic. Yeah, that is tricky. Is it better to just use mass shots, thinking Gatling, over the overcommit with 2 Knights, or just leave alone?
Definitely Knights is an example. I'm pretty sure they're only OC1 apiece, right? You kind of just ignore them, kill the rest, accept that they over 2 or 3 turns might kill a Knight or 2, but then at that point they're slow. They're not scoring. They're not out OCing an Armiger, and you can sort of just dictate what happens. But watch out for the Lion. I hear he's horrible for us.
I have heard about the Lion before, funnily enough. like I say, my only experience of the Lion was pretty good because I played a guy who it was his very first game with the Lion, and he basically put him out into the open and said that he was going to charge next turn, and I went, "No, he's not. I'm really going to not happen." So he died. Just fail a couple of 3-up rolls, and he's gone. Whew. Anyway, but that's not a valid game plan. That's like financial planning being win the lottery, and that's not okay. Alistair, we're just going to skip over your question because that's just rage baiting me because he beat me last time we played against each other and he just wants the world to know it.
I hear the way to win the mirror is be better. That's what I've heard. The better player should always win it, Steve. Yeah.
Well, that's right. You know how I said you can't rely on your opponent making mistakes? Well, I made a lot of mistakes, and Alistair is a very good player and was able to take advantage of that. Pyro, last question for both of us. Which I feel like we've kind of already dealt with. As Knights players, any changes we'd like to see for the game as a whole and specifically Knights? For the game as a whole, I don't know about you, Rees. I really like our game, and I think the rules in general are pretty good. My issue is that there are now, we always get to this point, there are too many armies that just ignore some of the rules, which makes it really, it's just not a fun interaction sometimes. So just if an army can do something against you and you've just got no way of playing that, then it's not a fun interaction. That makes it a less fun game. So there's a little bit too much of that at the top, I think, in terms of what I would like for Knights. I've already said. So purple toughness, some way of defending ourselves in combat. It's kind of really, otherwise I feel like we're okay. I still love the lore and the painting and the everything else about them. And I quite like also, because I'm such an average player, I quite like having the excuse that it's a bad faction at the moment. So I can go 3-2 or 2-3 in a minute and go, well, second worst faction in the game. So just do it. I don't know if there's anything in the game that you would want to see in 11th, Rees, or if you, I don't know how you want to approach that.
I think the big thing for me is I want towering changed. I think the reason we're so oppressive when we're good and feel so rough when we're bad is towering inherently is great when we're good and just gets us killed easier when we're bad because we overexpose and we die like paper. I just think towering needs a rework on how it's a bit of a rejig on how it's done.
Sure. Okay. Well, we did it. We got through that whole thing. This is a slightly longer episode, but we got through the whole lot. All the questions from the Patreon and the Discord. My new co-host and friend from the other side of the world. Thank you for your time again today, mate. And for folks in the Discord, Rees is available. I'm available. Stig's available. Brian Jones and Dustin are available when they can be, work permitting. And Adam Camilleri, likewise, he is a very busy man, but occasionally is able to answer questions. So go well. Have a great week. Next week, if Rees is available, he will be with us, but we're going to get Rutnu on because we're going to start going through the Chaos factions. We've done this with the Imperial Knights factions. Go through the Chaos Knights factions from pretty much the best Chaos Knights player in the world. Find out how he feels about them. And I would love Rees to be involved in that because you've got smarter questions than I do. You know more about stuff than I do. So the whole podcast gets elevated into a more intelligent sphere when you're a part of it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. And I guess we'll see you next time. Folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. However you've been consuming the podcast, we appreciate it. And we will see you next time. I'm Steve Joel for Rees Darvel. This has been 40K. Bye.